Fernando Torres, Andy Carroll, Luis Suarez David Luiz. This is basically it. It's £35 million for Andy Carroll is overpriced any way you look at it. I mean, the guy has infinite potential, but you can't make a living off potential. Secondly, and probably most importantly, I don't know. I mean, he does fit the kind of boot room boy style that Kenny Dalglish is looking to implement at Liverpool now.
Is that long ball?
No, not long ball. It's players who are basically going to fight for the badge that they're wearing. And Torres, for most of the season, has looked
like he did at Newcastle.
Well, he's looked really disinterested. Torres's form has been erratic, and basically, I'd like to go on record as saying, Fernando Torres, on a personal note, sorry mate, but you have no class. You said literally a number of weeks ago, oh yeah, I don't want to leave, I'm going to stay here and help the club. Then you're trying to demand and force through a move to Chelsea. You have no class. Also, the fact that you're saying, now I'm at a big club, I'm playing at the level I'm supposed to, mate, you literally have no class. I'm sorry, I've lost respect for you. I had nothing but love in my heart for you when you were a Liverpool player. You were even through his indifferent times, you know that I was still like, nah, he's gonna come good. And then he turns tail and starts like throwing little cheap shots in his first Chelsea interview.
Yeah.
Don't get it. No loyalty in football no more. At least we got £50 million out of it.
I quite enjoyed it. I thought it was entertaining.
At least that's what I'm saying. At least we got £50 million out of it.
I'm kind of expecting the same thing when we see Fabregas at Barcelona. But anyway, yeah. Getting back to the Liverpool thing, I've got a theory that the bid for Andy Carroll was expensive.
It was excessive.
It was excessive.
Yeah, and Newcastle reluctantly accepted it. They didn't want to actually accept it. They only accepted it because Carroll handed in a transfer request.
I read in the Times today, that's not really the case.
Yeah, there's conflicting opinions on it. Carroll saying, "Oh yeah, I was forced out."
Yeah.
I say because he signed a new deal like in October.
Yeah.
And then he tried to renegotiate that deal. Those talks broke down, and then he handed in transfer request. Yeah. Apparently, that was one story, and the other one was basically, "Oh yeah, I was forced out."
Yeah.
That was what Andy Carroll's been saying.
So
it's very strange.
Just throwing out
and how quickly that happened.
Conspiracy theory. You got to think about Mike Ashley as a owner,
as an entrepreneur, basically.
Owner, entrepreneur, however you want to look at him. I just think he is a big fat guy with a lot of money, and he just does what he wants. Whether that makes you an entrepreneur, then that's what it's all about. Give me some
big fat guy with a lot of money.
Right, give me some money and I'll be the same. But no, on a level, your prize asset, who everyone sees Liverpool saw Fernando Torres as a prize asset. You fought tooth and nail to keep that guy. Yeah. You know, you had alright, fair enough. Chelsea had to bid the £50 million price tag to get him because of the.
Hey, we said to Chelsea, if you want him, £50 million.
You had a release clause on him. That's how much you prize.
Yeah, I'll give you the details of that release clause after actually.
Yeah, it's like they do that a lot in Spain, I think, and a bit in Italy. But that's how much you value.
Aguero's one has actually been lowered after Tottenham apparently made a £38.5 million bid.
Because he signed a new contract.
Sergio Aguero signed a new contract, which lowered the release clause trigger price. But
just going back to the theory, but at the end of the day, when you came in with that initial bid, you knew that you was losing Fernando Torres, so you came in with that initial bid, and you thought for Andy Carroll for about 25 million, I think. They rejected.
No, they rejected the 30 million bid.
Oh, 30
on deadline day, they rejected a 30 million bid, then a 35 one, and then afterwards they reneged and accepted the 35 one after the transfer request was handed in.
That just not
because originally we rejected a 40 million bid for Torres, and we said, nah, he's not for sale.
Yeah.
Then the line came out a few hours later that he'd handed in a transfer request. Yeah. Then we said, all right, we want 50 million for him. Yeah. And then Chelsea matched that, obviously, and the rest is history.
You weren't going to sell him.
No, true.
That's different. They had to match you. You weren't going to sell him. Whereas Newcastle now, they didn't have to sell him. but they saw the money.
But then the transfer request came in, and then the hand was forced.
They saw the money, but my whole point being is, you buying Andy Carroll, he's got bags of potential for the future of English football. He can become an iconic figure within Liverpool, with the backing of Kenny Dalglish especially, who is an iconic figure himself. And he can turn him into a Wayne Rooney easily, make him a shirt seller. And
potentially,
Kamoli, he's known for buying talent who have that sort of potential and credibility.
Yeah, from his time at Tottenham and his time at Paris Saint-Germain.
At the end of the day, the way I see it, you've gone out and bought Andy Carroll knowing that out of all your rivals, he's the next biggest thing, because you missed out on Darren Bent. Yeah, and Darren Bent was tipped to be going to you from last season. He could have potentially.
Before we bought Torres, we were being linked to Darren Bent.
We were being linked to Darren Bent.
I'm glad we bought Torres instead of him. To be perfectly frank.
Yeah, but you've always had that link with Darren Bent, and potentially you could see that if you could say you would have gone for Darren Bent if he was at Sunderland, you would have put 35 million for Darren Bent, and that looks more feasible than 35 million for Carroll.
On track record, yes. On track record, I'll agree with you. But I don't think Darren Bent's worth 35 million. I don't think Andy Carroll.
Andy Carroll's not worth 35 million.
No, not at all. I mean, most of that price is potential.
Yeah.
But you can't. As I said earlier, you can't make a living off potential.
You are.
And at facebook.com/pitch talk, let us know. Let us know what you think. I mean, friend of mine, Henok Tesfa Mariam, said on my wall that 35. That basically, I'm going to read the direct quote out. Actually, 35 million for someone with aerial presence, one-footed, and a bit of a lout. Duncan Ferguson was only rated at 8 million.
Yeah, but I don't understand.
That's a bit of a harsh comparison.
I don't understand why people keep comparing the guy with Duncan. He's nothing like Duncan Ferguson. People need to go back and start watching watching past football, because Duncan Ferguson was mainly all about headers.
Yeah, he was all about power. He was a pure power man. He's good on the deck.
Liverpool are a footballing team, because remember, Everton used to be about long ball and headers. Yeah. Liverpool are a footballing team. They are a team that like to stroke the balls.
Well, pass and move is always the kind of Liverpool way.
So Kenny Dalglish has now captured himself a guy that can header the ball. You get me? If you can get a guy to distribute the ball in the air to him, he can header the ball. But then he's also got a player who wants to learn.
Who's good on the deck.
The technical side of the game.
Yeah, but Carroll is already pretty good on the deck as well.
Feet.
He showed that against us at St James's Park. Yeah, he's pretty good on the deck.
And the point I didn't get to come across with, Chelsea nabbed Torres for 40 million. Liverpool,
50.
50 million. Sorry, apologise. But Liverpool now are in a predicament, because they're either going to be seen as a feeder club, because they just sold one of their biggest assets to another club in the Premiership, and then they ain't gonna
I would much rather have
him
gone abroad, to be frank.
There's no one to replace him. So what Liverpool had to do, and this is why FSG and Kamoli are smart, because this is their business sense. They actually think about the mind game of the whole game. And 35 million for a half decent player who has potential is sending a statement out to the rest of the Premiership saying, look, we're bagging in for the future. We're a big club. Yeah, Liverpool bought our player for 50 million, but come on, he hasn't been playing well this season. We just bought the hottest young talent in the Premiership. Just got an English cap, and is
hot prospect. And it's
eighth most expensive striker in the world.
There are some real similarities between when Man United bought Rooney. Because Rooney
one good goal against Arsenal.
And then he was bought for 30 million by Man United. And then it's like he was a hot prospect at the time, and look at what Rooney's become. World class. Andy Carroll, there is the potential for him to become world class. 35 million at the moment looks overpriced. Only time will tell whether Carroll becomes worth that. I think he has. He's got all the tools to succeed. Let's see if he can do it. Because so many players who come through the Premiership had the tools to succeed. Lee Sharp, Jermaine Pennant had the tools to succeed. Ryan Babel, who's gone to Hoffenheim for 6.5 million. But those three players, just off the top of my head, had the potential to succeed, but never realised the potential. I hope Carroll doesn't go down that way.
11 goals in half a season in the first time in the Premiership, not bad. 44 goals since I can't remember. 40. Well, in the last 44 matches, he scored 26 goals for Newcastle. Who you might as well say they are big team football.
Yeah, you're like Martin Tyler now, man.
Why?
You're running off stats like it's nothing.
No, because I actually read into this story because it was flipping interesting why they actually went for him. So
I mean, I think Torres is he is. Don't get me wrong, he's a world class striker. He's a really good buy for Chelsea, but it's where are they going to fit him in? Is Anelka going to be happy dropping to the bench first and foremost? Because out of the strikers at Chelsea, Sturridge hardly gets games anyway. He only gets substitute appearances, and Anelka, it's either he's going to get forced out wide again or he's going to get dropped totally. So it's. I don't know, man. Anelka was like, oh yeah, I don't want to move to Liverpool again.
Yeah.
Alright, fine. Get used to bench warming, mate. Sorry, Nicholas. Get used to bench warming. I was talking with a mate of mine, a mate of ours actually, Jolie on the venue about this, who ironically enough looks a lot like Anelka. And it's a case of I said the same to him. Hey, Anelka, get used to bench warming, mate, because you're going to be doing it quite a lot. Because at the end of the day, you look at it, you don't buy a player for £50 million to put him on the bench. Also, alongside that, Drogba, he is that good. Even though he's not been overly prolific this season, he's still been contributing. His hold-up play is fantastic.
Yeah.
So it's one of them ones. Them two, Abramovich has bought Torres to play alongside Drogba, not as a replacement.
Well, personally, I think for the season he's bought alongside Drogba. But I think Drogba and
he's bought him to win the Champions League as well. But
Drogba and Anelka on their last legs at Chelsea. To be honest, I reckon Abramovich is going to.
They're both 31, 32 each.
I think Abramovich basically is going to invest in another big striker next season to assist.
But because of UEFA financial fair play rules, he might not be able to.
Yeah.
This might be Chelsea's last big purchase for a long time, because I
can't. You know what? Personally, I cannot see that, because at the end of the day, they need to do what they done when Mourinho first came. And they've started with two players, but they've got players all over the pitch. Like
the David Luiz for 21 million as well. I said that deal was originally supposed to be off, and then it got announced again on deadline day, and it ended up that Chelsea are going to pay 18 million for David Luiz, then the further 3 million in instalments.
Yeah.
But so it was.
You look at the other players that they're going to need to replace soon, who are tired and weary of legs and may not see Terry, Lampard. You're looking at Ashley Cole. Ashley Cole, quality player, but what I'm saying, they need to start grooming the next players to come through. And Chelsea are worried about the players that they're grooming at the moment. They're sending them out on loan, but they're not turning out to be the type of quality players they thought they were going to be. I think Bayern's their only best, their best bet to do what they need to do.
No, I hear that.
Well, no, what do you think about 60 million on two players? Do you think, like, as a Liverpool fan, that's been a long time since you've seen something like that?
Yeah, it has been. It has been a long time. I just hope that Suarez does not end up as another Mateo Kesman, to be frank. I really hope not. With Carroll, as we've mentioned, there's the potential. There's infinite potential there. I mean, in this inflated transfer market, 22 million for Suarez is not half bad.
Yeah.
Carroll's overpriced, obviously, so it kind of offsets that. The Torres thing, at the end of the day, we sold him for 50 million and bought two players. So what one player can't do, two will do.
Yeah.
So at least it's one of them ones. From having one unhappy world-class striker, we've got two potentially world-class strikers, 22 and 23 years old in age, two potential world-class strikers who want to wear that badge as instead of the one. So we've got two potentially world-class strikers instead of one unhappy world-class striker whose form was indifferent.
Yeah.
So
basically,
I don't mind that. I think we've come off slightly better for that.
If things do turn out well for them, you save yourself 2 years, at least 2-3 years of having to buy another top quality striker, you can start next season. You can start concentrating on building your midfield defense.
Exactly.